This is my creative autobiography assignment. My name is Colby Bingham. This is for SFL 210, Human Development. So for my creative autobiography assignment, I made a map. It was something that I just felt like it connected very well to my life and the journey that I've had. And so on this map, I made different landmarks that represent different aspects of my life that led to specific developments, and a few little notes of what they did. And so we start out our map. This little house is supposed to represent just the house where I was born. And I just put ages 0 to 1, and it has self-awareness and self-recognition right next to it. It's around that age that children start recognizing themselves and also having that self-awareness. And then after that, I put a little forest, and it's the forest of emotions. And as we grow, I kind of put 1 to 3 in that age. And there's also a lot of development of self and other emotions in there, in this forest. So I kind of put it as a forest to represent kind of like how it's easy to get lost in, especially that age when you're trying to figure it out. It's really confusing, and so it's super important to have parents there to kind of guide us through it. Just that critical time of emotion and self-development. And so next I added was this little gate, and I put the gate of emotional regulation. And it's kind of like where you start finally leaving that forest of development when things are developing super fast and you're trying to figure it out. And I put ages 4 to 6. That's the ages that we start seeing that progress in youth. And so it's also when we start developing kind of our self-concepts of like our attributes and who we are as a person. So for example, it's when you might start noticing, oh, I am smart, I am good at drawing. Very simplistic things, but it still plays a super important part in the development of self, and it's that crucial leaving time. And then I put religious identity, this little church. It's a super important part of one's development of self, is just kind of figuring out what they, spirituality wise, what they align with. And it was in between those times, in between, that I really figured that out. And so there's a lot of development in this path, as far as elementary and middle school. There's a lot of physical change and growth of self and emotions. There's more complex emotions that start feeding into who we are. But I kind of just went to high school to kind of represent school overall. I put it a little ominous just for fun, and just because it's at times it can be really good, but also at times it's pretty hard. And for me, it was a time of just self-identity, figuring out who I was, who I wanted to be, and also personal error. There's a lot of silly mistakes I made, and it really helped me develop some emotions a little bit more. Just kind of get rid of the rest of that egoism that we have as children. Just realize that I'm not perfect, and that there's going to be differences, or that there's going to be difficulties in my life, and I'm not perfect. So I just put that stuff next to it. And then next I put, this was also kind of during the high school time, but the end is when I got my first job. I put a little weird cookie moon because I worked at Crumble for my first job. It kind of taught me responsibility and also emotional regulation. Just it's high stress, and you always need to be focused. And then I put a little plane for my mission. It taught me a lot of cultural awareness and kind of shaped my cultural identity a little bit, and I was able to adopt some of that stuff. And then I put BYU, and I put a big part of that's just self-identification, just kind of figuring out what my ideals are and continuing to develop my self-identity. As it says in the book, We finally figure out who we are at ages around 20 to 25. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to as well here, is having that. And then though we can see, though we know what happens later in life as far as emotional development goes and development of self, even in the later years of life, for me personally, I just put a question mark with the map, because that's something that I haven't explored for myself personally yet. So I don't know what experiences and what my map contains, because the map of everyone's different, what leads them to be who they are. And many times there's similarities, but I just thought it was fitting to put a question mark there, just to emphasize that the journey is different for everyone, so it's a different map. But yeah, that is my creative autobiography.